Whoa. Oh no. None of that. What's up, what's up? It's a Spherical, and this is HoHo and the Fabulous Gays. I did part 1 of this last week, so if you didn't watch that, you may want to go back and see that. Because I'm going to be hopping back in with the load. Okay, so when we were last in the fabulous dream world of HoHo and the Fabulous Gays, we met Cammy downtown while us and Mako were going to get some ice cream because we did a good job and we wanted a fucking reward, but the universe wasn't gonna have that. So, we were meeting Maze and Days, who were HoHo's dream warriors, I guess, for this particular iteration. We were just about to get into it and kick some ass. So, let's do this. You hear a low, raspy voice. This voice is not yours or Cammy's. As a matter of fact, this is even Mako's voice. As she speaks, the shadows around her eyes appear to intensify. Loveless is not a kind Aruma, and you can hear it. Every word is like the clicking of scissors or the sharpening of blades. What's the plan, kiddos? Mako may be everyone's sweetheart, but she's nowhere near defenseless. With the help of Loveless, she's more dangerous than half of the gang combined. You can't help but feel frustrated when you see her like this, because she doesn't need you. Your instinct to protect Mako is traded away for frustration. Of course she doesn't need you. She's strong by herself. Loveless isn't some ghost taking hold of her. This is a shard of the real Mako. A part of the true Mako that has always existed and will always exist, beyond this life and the next. You shake your head. You push that thought into the background. It can wait. Mako doesn't need protecting. You would spend your time best looking after yourself and Kami. Kami clears their throat and points down the street. Operator spotted a convergence of energy down that way. Mako lets out a sneer. The park. The open space will not interfere with the flux. Got it. Mako says, just before she turns around and begins heading down the street. You turn to look at Kami. They just shrug. Loveless is hard to work with sometimes. So much that everyone treats it like a thing external to Mako. This is of course false, but sometimes ignoring the truth makes it easier to live through the present. As I was saying, Kami says, as they turn to face you. The park is the only open area around here. It's the most likely place, but I think we need a vantage point. I'm gonna get on the rooftops and see what I can scout. Kami takes a step to one side, ready to turn into a nearby alley, when they suddenly come to a stop. They turn around to face you, and then shoot you a wink. Sometimes it's easier to forget you're all just a bunch of aimless 20-somethings. You all work, struggle to pay bills, and try your hardest to have some fun in between, but life has recently got a whole lot more complicated. Fun, but complicated. Looks like Mako is good on her own today, Kami says. Their voice sounds uncharacteristically calm. How about you tag along with me? It's been a while since we scouted together. I'd love to see how much you've improved. Kami smiles at you. You wonder what to do. It's the story of your life, really. Time after time, the world has asked you to jump into the unknown. You're hardly ever given choices, really. Today seems a bit special. It appears that, quite ironically, today your choice is a binary. You could take to the rooftops with Kami. They're right. It has been a long time since the last time you two scouted together. You have improved greatly. It would be a great chance to show your new tricks. You're not a fan of ladders and heights, though. Or you could also catch up with Loveless, or rather, Mako, and go to the park. Loveless is tough enough by herself. She doesn't need your help. This is fact. But maybe Mako. Maybe she would appreciate your company. You may also just annoy her. It's hard to tell when a Loveless is around. Suddenly, Kami's voice brings you back to the world of the present. So, what's it gonna be? Oh, shit. Okay, so Kami is real cool. Like, Kami's fucking neat. Mako... HoHo seems to be struggling with a lot of, like, feelings of irrelevance with Mako, which is sad. Because there's, like, it's pretty clear that, like, HoHo thinks Mako is pretty neat. Like, they think she is just the bee's knees. And there might be a little bit of romance happening there, some blossoming. But it's a choice between somebody who hasn't invited anyone to come with her and someone who is actively inviting you to come with them. So I'm gonna go with Kami. I'll go with you, Kami. Kami flashes you a smile. Good choice, they say. You find yourself staring into Kami's eyes for a moment too long. You're certain you already knew their eyes were brown, but for a moment you felt as though you rediscovered that. They're beautiful. Kami, all of them. Their eyes, their go-getter attitude, their desire to help others without ever asking for anything in return, you love that about them. Kami has always been there for you and never asked for as little as gratitude. Though you've gladly given that to them, it's only fair. It seems that Kami notices a change in your expression. What's wrong? They ask, still smiling. Don't tell me you want to change your mind and go chase after Mako. Not at all, actually. Yeah, right. Well, it's too late to change your mind. You're with me now. Hope you brought good shoes, because there's a ladder with your name on it. Kami said, oh, I forgot about the heights. Without waiting for a response, they turn around and dash into the nearby alley. You look down at your shoes. Yep, you're wearing flats. In retrospect, it might have been wiser to wear something else, but, of course, foresight is always 20/20. At least you look good in flats. At least you're not wearing, like, pumps or something. You followed Kami into the alley and then up a service ladder. After a couple minutes of climbing, you finally find yourself on a rooftop. It's well past midday now. Above you, the sky is blue, and the sun is partially covered by a couple of long, thin clouds. The horizon is a patchwork of buildings, concrete, and brick. You turn in all the cardinal directions, and all you can see is rooftops, billboards, and the distant forms of skyscrapers. For an instant, you don't see a city. You see a chessboard of grays. In your imagination, every block is a space on the board, though you cannot see the pieces anywhere. In this game, there is no white and no black. The real world isn't that simple or petty. You know this to be true. You blink your eyes and push that thought away. You turn to look at Kami. They're near the edge of the rooftop and looking over in the direction of the park. You walk over to them. Do you sense anything? You ask. Kami doesn't respond. Instead, they just shake their head. What about Operator then? Can they see anything? Maybe a pattern in the flux? You watch as Kami narrows their eyes. They are looking at something incredibly far away. For a moment, you wonder if what they're looking at is not the waking world. Without warning, Kami turns to you and speaks. His vantage point is not going to do. Let's jump over that other rooftop. You feel your eyes widen, and Kami notices. They make note of your hesitation. You claim that you've gotten better, that you had improved. It appears they wish to see it in action. What's wrong? Kami asks, smiling. Fear of heights is natural, but remember, you are anything but natural. Suddenly, Kami's eyes flash with a silver brilliance. You know what this means, and what it's about to follow. Kami backs up from the edge and sets their eyes on the adjacent rooftop. They're gonna try and jump over the alleyway. Actually, that's not entirely true. You watch as a slender shadow manifests itself behind Kami. It's hard to fully make out the form of another person's Aruma, since it is such a personal thing, but there are certain features that you can spot with ease. Long silvery hair, a still face with skin as bright as steel, and a scalpel. The doctor is in. The doctor and the operator. You watch as the doctor, the shadowy figure lurking just over Kami's shoulder, stretches one arm towards the adjacent rooftop. They hold their scalpel in one hand and gracefully draw a line in the air. You watch as an incision appears in front of Kami. It's a little thing, hardly more than a couple inches in length. And then, as though this is as normal as opening a door, Kami reaches out and touches the incision. Several things happen all at once. Kami turns to look at you, they smile, and then they don't. You can't see them smiling because they're not there anymore. Kami's body is not where it was a second before. The incision is nowhere to be seen either. You turn to look at the other rooftop and, of course, there they are, right on the edge, and still smiling. Part of you hates when Kami does this. It feels a lot like bragging, but you do also admit that it is quite the spectacle. The manipulation of space is not an easy task, hence why Kami can only cut so much of it at a time. The concept of power. You and your friends have not had formal training in the use of your Arumas. You're not sure if such a thing even exists, really. The only source of information you've had on your journey has come from other people you've encountered in the dreaming world. You've trusted their words since they appeared to know what they were talking about, but it's entirely likely that they're wrong. This situation reminds you a lot of how the world was before the internet, before you could just open a web browser, ask a question, and get a legitimate answer. You were just the right age to witness the change in the education system. You remember library index cards and encyclopedias. It was awful. You particularly remember one instance, back in your hometown that you do not talk about, where you wrote a book report based on the information of one of the books you'd taken out of the library. It was this way that you learned, the hard way, that not all information is equal. The book you took out was only a couple years old and it was already outdated. If the flow of information is slow, nearly stagnant, then progress cannot be made. It is just like the days when people thought the Earth was flat merely because just one point of view was being shared around. It is by this token that you can't help but wonder, if you and your friends had been trained in how to use your automas, maybe you would have all been way stronger. If you know how exactly to train best and what to work on, you and the rest of the gang might have caught that rogue automa last night. Maybe Mako would be able to control Loveless better. Maybe Kami could find a way to cut more space out of the fabric of reality. Maybe you could find a way to actually make money off of these things. At least that way you wouldn't have to worry about making rent. I mean, real talk. Even so, you kind of wish Kami would have had the decency to also let you step through the rift. Unfortunately, that would also defeat the whole point of testing you. You take a deep breath and consider your options. Maze has no physical capabilities, they're more a talker than a fighter. That leaves you with Daze. You gather your thoughts and speak directly into the darkness of your mind. Daze, I need a boost. Care to give me a hand? Without delay, the darkness speaks back. As you command. At the count of 1, 2, 3. You dash forward. You plant your left foot hard on the edge of the rooftop, but your momentum is not enough to take you across the gap. You're going too fast to stop. If you were another person, you would not make the jump. If you were anything but supernatural, you wouldn't make it. But you are. At the very last second, you project one of your two automas. Daze is a fighter, a version of yourself in their physical prime and with the reflexes of a cat. Daze materializes themselves in the physical world. They appear right below you, their hands serving as a support for your left foot, and also as the base of your jump. Daze pushes you forward, giving you the boost you need. Before you know it, the other rooftop grows closer, and then you're on it. Your landing's not perfect. You try to fall into a roll like in the movies, but achieve only in scraping in one of your knees. You ignore the pain and rise back up to your feet. What do the judges think? Kami says. You turn around and see the phantom outline of Doctor. The silvery automa holds up 7 fingers. Harsh, but fair, Kami adds. They walk over to you and pat you lightly on the back of your shoulder. 7's a little low, but I'm not sure if Doctor has the credentials to be judging your performance. Now that I think about it, it's entirely likely Doctor judged your scraped knee. You tilt your head to one side as though trying to make sense of that strange situation. Did Doctor think you hurt yourself enough trying to cross the gap? Or maybe you hadn't hurt yourself enough? You're halfway through trying to come up with a funny comeback when you notice that Kami is not looking at you anymore. Kami has her eyes narrowed and is looking in the direction of the park. You begin to turn your head in that direction, but then you feel it. A flux of energy, dreaming world energy, rushing up against every fiber of your being like a wave. It feels like a sudden change in temperature. The air in your lungs grows hot enough that you can't help but gasp. This change is anything but natural. Rogue automas simply do not project this much energy. That means it has to be. It's an awakening. The words are out of your mouth before you even realize it. We need to get to the park now. Nothing, not even a sound. You've known Kami for a while. You know that they're the most proactive person in your group of friends. They're the ones who arrange the weekly meetup. They're always up to date and always one step ahead of the crowd. They're the sort of person who makes hotel reservations months in advance. They measure and then cut. Right now it's the time to cut, but why is Kami not doing anything? You turn to face Kami. They're not even looking in the direction of the park. They're actually looking in the opposite direction. You think of Mako, all by herself in the park. Loveless may be with her, but a flux that large could mean anything. It could be a single person surging with a newborn automa, or dozens. You don't have time to waste. You rush over to Kami and grab them by the arm. You turn to look at them, furious words already half-formed in your mouth. And then you see it. There, just a couple blocks down the street, in the opposite direction of the park. Only you and Kami can see it, because you're the only ones with true sight. The people at the street level don't know and can't possibly ever know that they're in terrible danger. There is a rogue Aruma hovering just above their heads. Normal people can't even sense it. You and Kami can't ignore it. It's a cloud of purple smoke, swirling and spinning like a mane of long hair underwater. It's the rogue Aruma from last night, the one you and your friends failed to destroy or capture. Shit. There are people, there are children, just a few feet underneath the purple haze. It can start chaos at any moment. It's like a bomb without a fuse or a timer. It can go off at any second. Time is of the essence. Only you and your friends can stop it, but your friends are not all in one place. What do we do, Kami? Kami, this is bad. What the hell do we do? Kami shakes their head. They look at you, and then back at the cloud of purple smoke. You can see them running through all the possible permutations. Kami is smart, much smarter than you, and the rest of the gang combined. And yet they don't appear to have an answer. You understand why. It's not an easy choice to make. You have two equally overwhelming problems, an awakening by the park and a rogue Aruma, but only 3 people to take care of them. A single person alone is unlikely to survive, let alone succeed. Right now, Mako is in terrible danger. Even with the power of Loveless, Mako cannot possibly take care of an awakening all by herself. But you can't just leave to go help Mako. The rogue Aruma was hard enough to fend off with 4 people. If you left Kami alone, you don't want to think about it. And neither does Kami. You can see it on their face. Their eyes are narrowed, their lips pressed into a hard line. They're making the math and weighing the odds. You don't have the brain to do all that arithmetic, and even so you can still tell that it's a close call. You reach out and place one of your hands on Kami's shoulders. You open your mouth to speak, to say anything, but nothing comes out. You don't know what to do. It doesn't feel right. Either way, it's a gamble. You don't want to gamble with your friends' lives. Go to the park. What? You ask. I'll hold off the rogue for as long as I can, Kami says. They take a step closer to the edge of the rooftop. You can see the faint outline of Doctor following behind Kami like a second shadow. Go to the park and help Mako fend off the awakening. It's the right thing to do. If that's what Kami wants you to do, then why does it still feel wrong? A part of you despises the very idea of leaving one of your friends alone, but it looks like you'll be doing that either way. If you stay, you leave Mako to fend off a new Aruma all by yourself. If you leave Kami, then they would have to face off the rogue alone. All the doors seem to lead to a dead end, and you hate this. You don't want to choose. All your friends mean a lot to you. You want them all to succeed. You want them all to survive. Suddenly, you feel a warm hand around your waist. You look down and find the outline of Maze. They look at you and smile. They seem so confident, so ready for anything that the world throws at them. You wonder where this certainty comes from. We're one and the same, Master. If I can be certain, then you can too. Remember that not all choices are simple binaries. Sometimes, all you gotta do is make a wise use of your time. Maze is quite the talker. You know this, for that's their primary ability, that they can be both sweet and bitter. Ever since you awoke, you've found in Maze helpful advice. Their words always strike true, after all. They're a part of you. They know just what to say, because they know exactly what you're dealing with. Maybe it's time to ask for advice once again. Let's hear what they have to say. You speak directly into the darkness of your mind. We're a little tight on time, but you wouldn't come out like this if you had nothing to say. Tell me, Maze, what's your plan? Maze smiles wide. You can see their long canines. It's quite simple, Master. You need not leave either of your friends behind. You have me. Let me be your voice. Allow me to parley with the rogue. I can be very convincing. Yeah, Maze is right. In your previous encounters with the rogue, the entire gang took a combat approach. It just seemed like the right thing to do with something so dangerous. But if Maze thinks you have a chance to turn the Aruma around, it might be worth a shot. As though to sweeten the pot, Maze speaks again. I already know what I'll say to amaze them. Let me do this, Master. I will claim the Aruma to our cause, and then we'll be off to the park to aid Mako and Loveless. What do you think? You nod in agreement. You simply don't have enough time to chase the rogue Aruma around town, let alone fight it. No, talking is the best option. If what Maze is saying is right, then you'll be on your way to the park in a flash, and then Mako won't be on her own anymore. You turn to look at Kami, ready to tell them your plan, but you notice that they're several feet away. They're facing towards one of the rooftops across the street. You catch the faint outline of Doctor cutting a seam through the fabric of space. They're leaving without you! Taxi! You dash forward and wrap your arms around Kami just in time for them to touch the seam. You feel the entirety of your body go terribly cold, as though you'd leaped into icy water. All around you, the world is a dark tunnel. There is a tiny sliver of light at the end, and you move toward it faster than it seems possible. The light envelops your entire vision, and you emerge out of the seam. You feel your body collapse to the ground, though the fall doesn't hurt at all. The ground is actually quite soft. You look down, you're laying on Kami. They stare at you through narrow eyes. They open their mouth, and you can feel the temperature around you drop a couple of degrees. That ride is supposed to only take one person at a time. I won't tell if you don't, you say. You let out a nervous laugh, hoping that Kami would at least laugh it up with you. They don't. Kami just furrows their brow. You do realize that had I touched the seam a second earlier, you would have taken the quick way down to the street level, that not only Mako would be in danger, but you would also be a bloody pancake. You try not to picture that. Instead, you get back up on your feet and help Kami up to theirs. You're across the street now. You can see the rogue Anima hovering just a dozen feet off the edge. This up close, you can see a faint humanoid outline within the cloud of smoke. That's the little someone you're going to have to sweet-talk. With the help of Maze, that is. That's interesting. So there's a person inside the giant smoke haze. Shit. I mean, yeah, it makes sense, because, they all come from people. But just the idea that there's a person in there. Fuck. You smile. You have a really good feeling about your plan. You turn to Kami and find that they have a completely different expression on their face. Huh? What's wrong? You ask. I told you to go to the park. Kami's voice is low, and uncharacteristically uncertain. Did you not hear me? The traffic was too loud. You must have not heard me when I spoke. What? No, I heard you right. That's why I came. You stand there, ready to get to work on that rogue Anima, but Kami's expression is unchanged. They stare at you as though there's something wrong with you. Or worse, them. What's with the long face? You ask. You reach out and poke Kami in the chest with your index finger. Do you think I was gonna let you do this on your own? Hell no! I have a plan! We'll be out of here and down to the park in no time. Kami's expression does not change. You wonder why they would feel this way. All they did was give you an order. Oh. That. Your group had never actually had the talk. It had almost come up in conversation a couple times, but none of you have had the courage to actually push it. The reality was that it was a bit of a nasty conversation subject. Kami didn't want to deal with it, and you sure didn't want to deal with it. The rest of the gang wanted nothing to do with it because, well, being the leader sucked. Having people look up to you, reach out to you for advice, the burden of duty was not one to be taken lightly, not at all. Both you and Kami had the potential, sure. Both you and Kami had just about the same strength when it came to your Animas, sure. Both you and Kami have been leader-like at critical moments, sure. But neither of you felt like the leader. Of course, you can't help but wonder if Kami feels the same way. It's entirely likely that they see themselves as the parent figure of the group. That makes sense. They are the oldest. They practice and meditate more. They're also the most proactive. They're the one who plans the weekly gathering, after all. Now that you think about it, if you were the leader of the group, there would have been nobody to stop you from going to the ice cream parlor with Mako. This sounds like a nice thought, until you realize that within seconds of you getting your orders, the city would have been rocked by an awakening and a rogue Anima, both of which would have been blocks away. The gang would have been split, innocent people would have gotten hurt, your friends might have even been in danger. You feel a thick drop of sweat slide down your temple. You suddenly realize that the look on Kami's face was not anger, but worry. They're worried about you. You nearly ended up as a pancake. A bloody pancake. You look at Kami, and you see something else in their eyes. You see someone a lot more dedicated than you, and this is good. That's someone you can look up to, someone who may inspire you to become a better person yourself. So, who's the leader? I don't want to make this decision. Fuck. Shit. you know what? I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it here. I'm going to decide next time who's the fucking boss. Doctor's really cool. Kambi has some fucking sick-ass Automas, can I just say? I mean, HoHo's Automas are really sick too, and Loveless is a badass over there. I still want to know who the fourth person is. I want to meet them. I'm really excited to keep going with this. Until then, though, thank you guys for watching this and for checking me out. I will leave the links to this game and to the creator's Twitter, actually, in the description, so you can go check them out. And I will see you all later. Bye!